I'd like to call the May 16 Board of Adjustment meeting to order, please. Would the city like to swear in any witnesses who don't speak?
All right, if staff, applicants, and members of the public will stand and raise your right hand. If you're going to speak today, if you'll stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Hearings before the Board of Adjustment are quasi-judicial in nature. Decisions of the board are based on a record of these proceedings. To grant a variance requires a concurrent vote of 4/5 of the members of the board. To reverse or modify the determination of an administrative official requires a simple majority. Evidence submitted to the board for review becomes part of the record. Appeals of board decisions are to Superior Court and are based on the record. Appeals must be filed within 30 days of the date of the filing of the board's order in the Planning Division. A hearing before the board is conducted in accordance with its rules of procedure. Those who want to testify in a case are sworn in as witnesses. The chairperson recognizes those who want to testify or their attorneys for presentation of evidence during the hearing. To ensure that all testimony is properly recorded, please come forward to address the board, state your name, address, and speak clearly. Thank you. First order of business is approval of the minutes of the April 18 meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Going to move out of order a little bit on item number 4, which is 1202 Eastwood Road. The applicant has requested a continuance of this item until the June 2024 meeting. Is there anything from the city? No? Okay.
Questions, happy to answer.
Okay. Do we have a motion to grant the continuance?
I'll make a motion to continue that number, or 1202 Eastwood.
Item 4.
Item 4, yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The first item before the board today is 215 Summer Rest Road, variance to the rear yard setbacks for property located in the R20 Residential Legacy District.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Grace LeMay, and I'm an associate planner with the City of Wilmington. For our first case today, we're looking at 215 Summer Rest Road for BADV-19-324. The subject property at 215 Summer Rest Road is a corner lot in the R20 Residential Legacy District, and according to New Hanover County tax records, contains a 2,108 square foot residential structure and a 480 square foot accessory dwelling unit. The subject property consists of 7 lots that were recombined and recorded at the New Hanover County Register of Deeds in 2023 under Map Book 73, page 274. The applicant has proposed a 364 square foot addition to the eastern portion of the structure with a setback of 13 feet, which is a 7-foot variance to the required side street setback. Pursuant to City Code Section 18-177, residential structures within the R20 district shall be set back a minimum of 20 feet from the side street property line. The applicant states that the addition will serve as their primary bedroom and bathroom, and believes that without this addition, it would not be possible for this structure to be used as a primary residence. As the structure is located within a floodplain, the applicant will be required to comply with all applicable City of Wilmington floodplain regulations. On February 6, 2024, pursuant to City Code Chapter 18, Land Development Code, Section 18-177, planning staff accepted an application for a variance to the dimensional standards for residential structures within the R20 district. This matter was continued from April 18, 2024 meeting of the Board of Adjustment to the May 16, 2024 regular meeting. We would like to submit the case study and all attachments to the board for review. I'm available to answer any questions and believe that the applicant is here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for city? Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good afternoon. My name is William Farrell. I'm the owner of the residence, and I'm the applicant. Would like you to consider this variance. Many property owners on our street have gotten variances in the past, and we don't think this would be anything new or unusual for our neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Let me turn my mic on. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to open up for evidentiary part of the meeting. If anyone's got any material information they would like to discuss, please come forward. Yes.
Yes, my name is Arch Ellis. I live at 110 Blue Avenue, which is across the street and behind this property. We built there a couple of years ago, and while I don't want to be a bad neighbor, I paid a premium for my lot because we have a view of the Intercoastal Waterway. We designed our house to take in this view, and this variance would basically cut probably 40% of my view out. So while we're friends with the applicant and don't want to cause problems, I have to speak against it. And I also have proxies here from Vance Young, who has the lot directly next door, and Chris Parks, who is next door to him, and both of them have spoken out against it too. I mean, Blue Avenue is a little one-lane road, and I just feel like it's gonna, 13 feet from a one-lane road just seems way too close. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Does the city have anything? Okay, we'll close the evidentiary hearing and go into board discussion. Any discussion?
I would say normally, this would be, because of the lot, it's a unique lot because it is triangle. But whenever it is, affecting another neighbor or their views, I tend to lean against it just because of that reason. It's just a unique situation because 9 times out of 10, this would be okay, but it really is impeding in on the neighbors. I mean, it could affect property values at that time too.
I have a quick question. This says the variance request is to exceed the minimum 25-foot standard by 7 feet, but I think they're now asking for a setback of 13 feet. So isn't the variance actually 12 feet? Is the side yard setback 20 or 25 feet?
The required side yard setback is 20 feet.
Okay. I understand this.
Well, I think what we need to do is, consider it against the 4 findings of fact, right? I mean, number 1, an unnecessary hardship would result from strict application of the ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that in absence of a variance, no reasonable use of the property can be made. Hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, which is, I think it meets that one for sure. Hardship did not result in actions taken from the applicant. I agree with that one. And the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance. 1 and 4 are kind of in question. Because I don't know if 1 is an unnecessary hardship. And number 4, is it consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance? There are other properties out there that are within, that encroach on setbacks. But I don't know when that was done, if anyone spoke against it or if it affected anyone else in the neighborhood.
I agree with that. Just looking at it from the findings of fact, I'm not sure that I can get there on all 4 of them based on the information that's been provided.
Well, and that's our charge, is to review the 4 findings of fact in order to grant a variance. So,
Yeah, I would agree that number 1 and number 4 aren't being met with this request. to make a motion to deny this variance request.
We have a motion to deny the variance request. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The variance request does not pass. Thank you. Item number 2 before the board is 2508 Oleander Drive, and I need to recuse myself from this. So I'm going to turn off my mic and step down. Who gets the gavel?
Chairman's choice.
And board members, if I could remind y'all to speak into your microphones. We're having some acoustic issues, so you're going to need to be more mindful of the microphones this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks.
With 4 members present, I would just like to state that it would require a unanimous vote of the board to grant the variance because it has to be approved by 4/5 of the board. So at this time, I think it would be a good idea to ask the applicant if they would like to proceed, understanding that that's the vote that they would have to meet.
Okay. Applicant, are you okay proceeding with it has to be a unanimous vote? Okay.
Good afternoon. The request before you today was continued from the April 18th meeting of the Board of Adjustment following a presentation by staff and the applicant. I will briefly go over staff's presentation with a few additional slides to help orient you with the site. Also, the case summary has been revised since the April meeting. This property is zoned R15 residential and is bounded by single-dwelling residential uses on all sides. The R15 district is a low-density residential district that's established to accommodate single-dwelling residential uses at approximately 3 units per acre, which equates to just under 15,000 square feet per residential lot. And on the screen in front of you is the purpose statement from the city code for that zoning district. This aerial shows the entire parcel, which consists of 2 lots, lots 83 and 84 in the Oleander subdivision, which was platted in October of 1925. This survey provided by the applicant shows the parcel line between the 2 lots of record. Based on New Hanover County tax records, Lot 83 contains a 3,254 square foot duplex constructed circa 1928 and a 1,584 square foot duplex constructed circa 1940. Lot 84, also based on New Hanover County tax records, contains a 1,426 square foot duplex constructed around 1943 and a 732 square foot accessory apartment constructed around 1950. However, as of November 2023, the applicant has removed the kitchen facilities for this unit to convert it to office and storage space. And I will state that Lot 84 is the primary subject of this variance request. The lot now contains 2 dwelling units, and the maximum density for this lot is 2 dwelling units. The applicant has proposed to keep the 2 existing structures and construct a 3rd structure on Lot 84, which would be located in front of the existing structures and would become the principal dwelling on the lot, rendering the other 2 structures accessory. An additional dwelling unit on the subject property would increase the extent of the nonconformity of the site and is not permissible pursuant to Land Development Code Section 18633, extension or enlargement of nonconforming situations. City Code Section 18199, which is inaccurately cited in your case summary, but that section requires that the total combined square footage of all accessory structures shall not exceed 100% of the square footage of the principal dwelling. To comply with that standard, the proposed new dwelling would need to be at least 2,158 square feet. City Code Section 18199 also limits accessory structures to a maximum of 1,200 square feet, which one of the existing structures exceeds by 226 square feet. This provision is expected to change upon the adoption of the most recent round of land development code amendments, which will go to City Council next Tuesday. However, it's included in this request because that code is still in effect today. Section 18200 also prohibits more than 1 accessory apartment on a parcel, and the proposal would create 2 accessory apartments to the rear of the new principal dwelling. The request before you has not changed since our last meeting, nor has staff received additional clarifying information regarding the specifics of the request. Based on the materials presented, staff has identified that the proposal would require a variance to Code Sections 18199, 18200, and 18633, as shown on the screen in front of you. Depending on the proposed placement of a new structure, a variance to Section 1828 may also be necessary. And I have excerpts of the relevant code sections in case they come up in discussions later. Pursuant to North Carolina general statutes and city code, for the board to grant a variance, the applicant must demonstrate that there's a hardship in following the law that would prevent the use of the property for its intended purpose, a single dwelling use. The site is currently being used as that, actually a duplex. The applicant also needs to demonstrate that the hardship results from some unique circumstance associated with that specific property that is not applicable to other similarly situated and similarly zoned properties. Hardships that are common to the neighborhood or the general public, such as density and size restrictions, shall not be the basis for granting a variance. If the board finds that a hardship does exist, it cannot be the result of actions taken by the applicant. Finally, variances must be consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. The ordinance is clear that the purpose statement for this zoning district is for single-dwelling residential uses, and that it's not the intent of the code for nonconformities to expand. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of city staff, and the applicant is also present for a presentation. I'd like to submit the case summary and all attachments into the record.
Any question for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm John Cooper. I reside at 2514 Oleander Drive. My residence is adjacent to the lot that was described in the presentation by the city. What I proposed in the last meeting, if you all were in attendance, was just simply building a 3-car garage with a auxiliary dwelling unit above it. It's the proposed plan was submitted, the blueprints, it falls within all the setback requirements on the interior line and the alley side and front towards Oleander and the rear setbacks. It would no way infringe on my neighbors. There's been no complaints from anybody about the proposal from the letters we submitted to them. And the staff, I think, heard the history of the property. I won't go back into those details, but it's been there since 1929, 1940. All these buildings have been in existence. I simply want to use the lot adjacent to my house for a purpose more other than growing bushes. The garage would be used by me. One may be stalled, may be used by a possible tenant. We may use that extra dwelling for possible in-laws, family members to stay, that kind of thing. The other apartments that are behind the property, I've been providing residence for those tenants without any problems, any issues whatsoever. So this would help with the affordable housing crisis in this city. It was suggested that I come back with a site plan. I've had that prepared, and I'd be glad to present it to the board to look at, so you can show where the placement of the garage would be.
Sure. Thank you. If it's two-story.
So then they wouldn't need a variance from the one.
I may add the total square footage of the proposed building is only 1,000. It's 1,064 if you count the garage space and dwelling. So it's 40. It's going to be 38 width by 28 deep. So.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Is there anything else you'd like to present?
Not at this time. I just would appreciate your consideration for this matter. I've tried to do everything that zoning has requested, and I try to, be prepared for this hearing, and I hope you will give it your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll open up the evidentiary hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on or against the matter? Okay, I'll go ahead and close that. And is there anything else from the city that you guys would like to add?
I just have a few questions of the applicant.
If you will, come back up front. Thank you.
Wait, this is our first opportunity to review this. And I just am questioning, is there living space in the three-car garage?
It'll be above that is the plan, yes. That's the plans were submitted earlier. I have the blueprints with me.
And so is the 1,064 square feet, is that the footprint or the
That's the
total area of the building?
Well, that's the footprint, square footage. So
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So then the living space would be 1,064 square feet and the garage would be 1,064 square feet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the total square footage would be 2,128?
Yes, ma'am. If I can count the garage space.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any additional variances that will be needed based off what you've seen?
No, the proposed structure complies with the setbacks for the district.
Okay, thank you. Could we go to the proposed variances? Does the board want to discuss?
So I think the crux of it, for me, is twofold. One, I think it's slightly different than some of the other lots in the area because there are alleys on two different sides of it, which kind of makes it different. And the other thing is the buildings from the 1920s and the 1940s that are accessory and adjacent to the property lines as they are now. I think candidly really strict adherence to the ordinance. I mean, it basically makes the front part of that parcel unbuildable because the other two buildings are on the back and they were put there in the 20s and the 40s. So I think after seeing the site plan, I'm more comfortable with the variances as requested, all three of them.
Agreed, and I think the square footage of what he proposes to build is only about 30 feet off than what would be required under the ordinance, so that's not, in the grand scheme of things, that big of a variance.
Excuse me, did you open the evidentiary hearing?
I did.
Okay,
I don't know if I closed it, though.
okay.
I'll close the evidentiary hearing. So do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the 3 variances as outlined.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you. Thank you. I know, I'm going to.
I'm back. The next item before the board is item 3, 5123 Market Street, variance to section 18-341 to allow a non-residential parking facility to exceed the maximum allowable parking. Variance to section 18-344 for drive-through configuration and expansion of an existing fast food restaurant.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Mr. Chairman. My name is Bentley Ernest, and I am an associate city planner with the city here. Today, we will be talking about BADV 21-424, which is for 5123 Market Street. The subject property is a corner lot located in the RB Regional Business District. According to permit records, the parcel contains an existing 4,211 square foot Chick-fil-A restaurant approved for construction in 2021. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing building and reconfigure the parking in excess of the maximum allowable parking for the district. The proposed includes a drive-through and associated equipment, which will encroach into the setback requirements for drive-through locations along a right-of-way. Pursuant to City Code 18, Section 18-341, commercial structures within the RB district shall be allowed a maximum of 1 parking space for every 2.5 seats. The applicant is proposing a total of 90 seats within the restaurant, equating to a maximum of 36 parking spaces, The applicant has requested a variance for 11 spaces to allow for the proposed 47 total parking spaces. In addition to the maximum parking requirements, the applicant has also requested to expand the proposed drive-through lanes to allow for additional stacking and queuing of vehicles in the drive-through. Pursuant to City Code Section 18-344, drive-through facilities shall not be located between a building and a right-of-way, nor shall they be on the same side of the building as the primary entrance. In addition, drive-through facilities shall be set back a minimum of 20 feet from any street right-of-way and 200 feet from any residential district. The applicant has requested to encroach 10 feet into the required 20-foot setback along New Center Drive, as well as 0.5 feet into the required 20-foot setback along Market Street. The applicant states that the expanded drive-through will include a designated lane for order meal delivery to alleviate the accumulation of off-site stacking and to promote the circulation of on-site vehicles. On April 18th, the planning staff accepted an application for variances to the maximum allowable parking within a non-residential district and for the configuration and expansion of the existing drive-through. This matter is set for hearing before the Board of Adjustment today, May 16th, 2024. I would like to submit all materials to the record, and I know that the applicant is here as well to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Thank you. You said the variance request was 10 feet on New Center, is that right?
No, sir. It will be the setback for New Center Drive, yes, 10 feet into the required 20-foot setback along New Center.
And what about Market?
And then they will be encroaching 0.5 feet into the required setback along Market Street.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for City? Thank you.
Perfect.
The applicant like to come forward?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having us here today. I did want to kind of, just before I go through my whole spiel,
Could you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Richard Scott. I'm here representing Chick-fil-A, but I am the civil engineer for this project.
And your address, I'm sorry?
My address is 220 East Central Parkway, Altamont Springs, Florida.
Thank you.
All right. Can we go back to what she just had mentioned? Maybe the site plan might be the best way. I think she had mentioned there was a 20-foot setback on Market Street and New Center Drive. We're providing 15 feet of buffer on both of those sides, so that it would only be a 5-foot into that. Is that? Just want to make sure to clarify that. All right. So again, my spiel here a little bit. The purpose of this scrape and rebuild is to kind of solve some of the issues that we're dealing with on this site. Specifically, one of the toughest parts is that we are on Market Street, very major road, and it's New Center Drive. We do have a double frontage road here, so there is quite a bit of setbacks and easements that we're trying to deal with. Working with staff and going through quite a bit of a extensive design process, we've we've come to this design, and we think this is probably we think this is the best design we can do in trying to meet the intent of making this site better and meeting the ordinances that you guys have put in place. The size of this building is slightly larger. We have it at 4,500 square feet, but it actually has much less seating than was in the previous site. And so one of the things that we're kind of dealing with here is because we have a lower seat count, the actual parking requirement is limiting us to only 36 parking spaces. Today, the site has 56 parking spaces that are well used by both team members and the public that's walking in. By having to use the strict adherence of that 36 parking spaces, we would have to lose 20 of the existing parking spaces that we have there today. We are asking for those 11 parking spaces. Due to the fact that we do need team members, we are trying to, for the spirit of this is to better the neighbors and to better the traffic situation that we're having on the neighboring properties. So one of the biggest things to talk about here on the design and some of the things that have come into why we designed it the way we did here, the biggest change from what's existing on the site today is that we have an isolated drive-through along New Center Drive and Market Street. The intent of doing this is to separate the drive-through traffic, which is heavy, from the parking and from the customers that would not be going to the drive-through. We feel that this is the safest option for both team members and for customers, just to separate the conflicts, all those issues that come with the existing store layout. So the idea there is to aid, we do have the operator here as well, and he can speak to some of the operations of the store, but that's really to aid his day-to-day operations for his safety as his team and for the customers that are coming inside. One of the big things I also wanted to mention is that they also had mentioned that we do have some of the drive-through facilities that are on here. We have the canopy that is in that, it's on the west side of that, on New Center Drive side. That canopy that is encroaching into that is for team member safety to protect them from the elements, the rain, snow, all of that. It does have fans and stuff like that to kind of prevent them from having to stand out. They do take orders out of this drive-through. It's a little different than most other operations. They go out there with iPads and they're walking up. They found they're able to solve a lot of the traffic situations that happen with typical drive-through restaurants by having that face-to-face interaction. And so those canopies there are to protect those team members from the elements. Like I said, and because of the fact of the layout of this site, it is very skinny in nature. We feel that this is the best way we can provide the 15-foot buffer, which is 5 feet larger than the buffer that is being provided today. There's only 10 feet along Market Street and New Center Drive. And so we're trying to, in the spirit of trying to follow your ordinances, provide more than what we are doing, but providing 20 feet has been very, very challenging. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about is really just talking about the safety and efficiency that we're trying to provide here. We're tailoring what Chick-fil-A has been doing nationwide to this specific site, to this specific region, and trying to make the best of what we know works, but with what also works with you as well. And with that is all I have.
So you were requesting to make sure a 5-foot variance on Market Street and a 5-foot variance on New Center?
That's correct.
That's correct, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
providing 15 feet, correct.
I would just like to clarify, I'm sorry, is it a half-foot setback variance along Market Street, or will it be 5 feet? We were told it would be half a foot.
If it's 20 feet, is it 20 feet from both? I just want to make sure you
Yes.
clarify that. So if it's 20 feet, it'll be 5 feet on both.
Okay,
sides.
perfect.
Yeah, they're both
Thank you.
providing 15-foot buffers.
And you're actually less than 15 feet now, is that right?
Correct. There's 10 feet there today on both of those sides.
I'm assuming that you have projects like these all around that you've worked on. Just how consistent is this with other double frontage in other jurisdictions?
We do deal with this quite a lot. I would say that it's fairly standard. I mean, I think there is actually a Chick-fil-A within Wilmington, just down the street on Market Street, that dealt with this exact same situation with the drive-through along Market Street. Really, the big thing about this is that it tailors Specifically, for this site, we don't always have the same layouts. Obviously, everything's site-specific, but the big thing about this is that we can put the drive-through entrance, which is in the north, the top right corner of this site, in far away from our drive-through, which allows us to pull those drive-through cars in. That's really what kind of sets this layout as above and beyond some of the other things that we've done. Older stores have, they have a boa constrictor that runs around them. So that's really what this does. It allows us to pull those drive-through cars forward into our site and allows us to manage them much better. So I think that's really the spirit of when we're dealing with that with other situations. It's for that reason.
Any further questions from the board?
I thought in staff presentation, she said there were going to be 90 seats, it looks like, and I can't see very well on this computer screen, but is that 70 seats?
There'll be 70 seats inside the building. There's
Okay.
going to be, there's just to the left of the building right there, there's some outdoor patio seating.
Okay.
That will be covered, but that's the other, it's actually going to be 24. So technically, the total seat count is 94, which brings us to 39 maximum, which would reduce this a little bit, but.
That's good.
So that would really, if you're doing the math here, we'd be looking at 7 over the maximum.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll open the evidentiary hearing now. If anyone has additional information they'd like to present, please come forward. I'll close the evidentiary hearing. Is there anything further from the city? Then we'll go to board discussion. I actually like the layout proposed better than what's there now because it does isolate the drive-through from the parking, and they are actually, will be encroaching less than they are now under the proposal. So I don't see any, I don't have any issues with the variance request as presented.
I don't have any issues with it either.
I'd like to propose a motion that we grant the variance for parking and the 5-foot setback on Olean, or Market Street, and the 5-foot setback on New Center as requested.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Variance request passes. Thank you. Next item before the board is item number 5, which is 526 North 23rd Street. Variance to City Code 18-365, maximum allowable fence height within the front setback designation of a residentially zoned property.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. Again, my name is Bentley Ernest, and I am a city planner here with the city. The case in front of us is for BADV 23-524. It will be for 526 North 23rd Street. The subject property at 526 North 23rd Street is located in the R10 residential district. According to the New Hanover County tax records, the subject parcel contains a 1,418 square foot residential structure. In December of 2023, the applicant began construction on a concrete fence to be located along both the front and side interior landscape of the residence. In January of 2024, the applicant completed construction of the fence at a finished height of approximately 6 feet. On or about January 17th, 2024, the applicant received a notice of violation from city zoning for constructing a fence that exceeded the height maximum within the front yard. City Code Section 18-325 allows fences in the residential districts provided that within any side or rear yard, the maximum fence height shall be 8 feet. Within front yards, the maximum fence height shall be limited to 4 feet. City Code Section 18-325 allows the Board of Adjustment to grant waivers to exceed 4 feet up to 6 feet in height in the front yard if the following standards are met. The fence, wall, or screen shall be set back a minimum of 1/2 the distance of the required front yard setback for the district, or 15 feet, whichever is greater. At least 50% of the area of the fence, wall, or screen shall be above a height of 4 feet. That shall be open along the entire length such that clear vision is possible from one side of the fence to the other. The property must be located along a thoroughfare. These standards may not be waived by the Board of Adjustment. The applicant has determined that the existing fence is 12 feet from the front property line. As the applicant does not meet the 15-foot setback requirement for fences exceeding 4 feet in height within residential districts in the front yard, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow the fence to remain as originally constructed. On April 4th, 2024, the applicant submitted a request for a variance to City Code Section 18325 to allow the existing fence to exceed the allowable height in the front yard by 2 feet. This matter is set before the Board of Adjustment on May 16th, 2024. I would like to submit all materials to the record. I know that the applicant is here to answer any questions, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
The only question I have is item 8 on your presentation. It says these standards may not be waived by the Board of Adjustment.
Yes, sir. So because the applicant does not meet the 15-foot setback requirement, the Board of Adjustment will not be viewing this case as a variance to the required fence height within a residential district. Rather, the Board of Adjustment will be viewing this case as a method of hardship or a mode of hardship on the basis of our regular 4 findings of fact for BATV cases.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
The applicant like to come forward?
I wasn't sure about bringing this.
If you could speak into the microphone, please. Thank you. And state your name and address.
My name is Jeff Whitfield. Our address is 3148 Windward Village Lane in Supply, North Carolina. And the subject property here is 526 North 23rd Street in Wilmington. Home we've owned for 18 years. It's a rental house, and we tried to upgrade it. Well, actually, my wife here, Lee, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lee Whitfield, his wife. We've had these we have 2 on 23rd Street. We've lived in both of them and love living there. We've always tried to upgrade the property, the community, and our neighborhood. And Jeff called when he wanted to do this courtyard in the front because we park in the back, and so if someone rents the property, they park in the back. And you called the town or the planning.
So basically, we did call and we had a miscommunication. When I called the zoning, the planning department, the young fellow told me to measure 15 feet back from where the sidewalk starts at the road. And that's what I did. I measured 15 feet. Well, actually, I measured 16 feet because I didn't want to get caught up over an inch. So I gave it an extra foot and went 16 feet from where the sidewalk starts at the road. That's what we did. And we built it. We had Aztec Masonry, top company, come out, and they did 2 feet wide foundation. This is a permanent structure, 2 foot deep. Built it right, very expensive stucco finish, tried to upgrade our street, upgrade the house, up the property values for neighbors, the street, everybody. And, but come to find out, we're 36 inches off. So this wall's this far, too close. Well, if you got to tape measure, 36 inches. So we're asking for a variance for 36 feet, other than tear this permanent masonry wall down and push it back. Push it back 36 inches. We'll have no impact. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to change the look. If anything, it's going to detract, because by the time we alter it, it probably won't look as good as it does now. And we had it built with 100% integrity in mind for the neighbors, for the street, for tenants. It's not our house. There'll be a tenant that'll enjoy this. People that drive by can see some revitalization. And so we're asking for a variance so we don't have to tear that wall down and move it back this far.
We haven't landscaped because of this, but it'll be landscaped beautifully if you approve this variance, or if you don't, we plan to maintain the property like we always have. And that's all we ever care about doing. My husband pressure washes that sidewalk for the whole street. That's what he does. He'll mow the neighbors' yards on each side. He's regraded the whole back to make it nice, you know?
That's enough bragging on me.
Well, so
So
it
we're-
looks a little stark right here because we wanted to wait until hopefully, you'll grant and approve this variance for this miscommunication of the wrong side of the sidewalk. And, okay, well, we're just asking that, we hope so. We love the Wilmington properties. We don't just turn them and keep, we love them. We pay homage to the original owners and we improve them. He painted the whole place
Yeah,
last year.
we're not developers. We have 2 rental properties in Wilmington. This is pretty much our retirement right here. I don't have a Roth. This is it. That's my Roth. So when I put money in that, it's because that's just money. That's a Roth contribution. Hopefully that means it's going to rent and it'll pay back. And usually I kind of feel with real estate improvements, they do pay you back. And that's the sentiment here is all.
On each side of this wall, the other side, when we bought it almost 20 years ago, Miss Rich was still alive. That side looks beautiful over there. He left the trees for the neighbors, he cut it in on the side so that they can enjoy the shade from the tree. Carol on this side, we've known her 20 years too. She had a disabled son. He brings her ice cream every week. We're helping her grade her area too. I mean,
Everybody likes it and thinks it looks good. But again, we're 36 inches off. We're asking for grace for a variance so that we don't have to push it back this far.
I mean, a redo would be costly and.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
The tree that you can see up there in the right-hand picture, is that inside the fence?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. But the others you see are on the outside right there. We came in, you can see an overall view.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to open the evidentiary hearing. If there's anyone here that would like to present evidence regarding this case. Seeing no one, I'll close the evidentiary hearing. Is there anything further from the city? Okay, thank you. We'll open it up for board discussion. I really have less of an issue with the 36 inches than I do the height of 6 feet, because it does screen the entire house. 6 feet's okay if the top 2 feet is opaque, which it's not. That's really my issue, is not with the 36 inches. Measuring on the wrong side of the sidewalk, it's a mistake, it happens. Yes, come forward, please.
I definitely appreciate your concern about that, but I just wanted to say that there are several other houses on the same street even that have 6-foot tall fences. There's one right down the street. They've gone pretty much all the way around their house, or at least 3 sides. They're in 15 feet. In that case, it's just a wooden, kind of a cheap wooden fence. Doesn't even look too good. On the other end, there's masonry walls that were built before. Apparently, an ordinance has come into effect that's changed that. But we had no idea of that. So when we built this, we were just in alignment with what is already on the street. And in the neighborhood down, there's at least one house. We have some pictures of these. I brought them. I didn't know if anybody would want to see them. But probably 6 examples within just 1,000 square feet, 1,000 feet
Right.
of homes that have a 6-foot tall structure.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just want to give you that. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I would also like to note that the applicant is the variance request is to leave the fence as is. So if the board would like to impose any conditional requirements with their determination today, then that would need to be discussed further.
Okay, thank you. Now, I drove by the property. I mean, it does look nice, but it does screen the entire house. I'm looking back.
Would you mind pulling up the four finding it of fact, please?
I mean, the issue is with a forgiveness variance rather than a permission variance is, unnecessary hardship would result in strict application. Well, it would now because the fence is there. The hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property. I don't think that's the case. The hardship did not result from actions of the applicant, but it did. And the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, and I think it is. So.
I do feel a slight bit different that he contacted the city to find out what the setback was, rather than just constructing it without taking any affirmative steps to make sure he was doing it correctly.
Come forward.
When I made the phone call on November 7th, 8:32 in the morning, 4-minute phone call, we talked about it, 6 feet, all of that was discussed. That we were told we're good to go, 15 feet from where it starts at the road, and that was all, that's what they told us.
Okay, thank you.
The reason I asked the question about the tree was, it seems to me that, if it was moved back 3 feet, then the tree's dead, right? And I understand that's not what's at issue here, but I think it's part of the larger
Well,
planning.
it would encroach on the roots of the tree, I believe, too. I do. And that's why I really don't have an issue with the 36-inch variance request. I mean, it was an honest mistake, and it is what it is. I mean, and I really don't take issue with that too much at all. I mean, the only issue I have is really with the height of the fence. I mean, it does look nice, but it does shield the entire house.
But the 6 feet would have been allowed, correct, had he built it 15 feet?
No, 50% of the area above 4 feet has to have clear vision. Isn't that correct?
Not the way I read it.
Correct. So if the applicant meets the setback requirements, which is 15 feet, and their fence is over 4 feet in height in the front yard, the remaining 2 feet that they're allowed needs to be at least 50% see-through from one side of the fence to the other. And those conditions may not be waived by the Board of Adjustment. So as the applicant does not meet the 15-foot setback in this case, we would not be reviewing those conditions here. We're purely viewing that the fence exists and making the determination based on the 4 findings of fact.
So he would have to cut this down to 4 feet and make the last 2 feet transparent?
If the fence was set back 15 feet. Currently, the fence is set back 12 feet, and so it does not meet those requirements. Is that correct?
I'm going to jump in here because I think that there's a little bit of confusion. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board and is allowed to make decisions that may be subjective in nature. And so we often will write into the code examples where we know that there may be requests for variances, and we'll set forth certain criteria for the board to consider, and these are often subjective criteria.
and that's why they have to go to a quasi-judicial board. But there'll be things like, is it in keeping with the area? Is this a heavily traveled street that warrants a variance? And you all, as the quasi-judicial board, are able to look at those subjective variables and see if the specific situation meets those standards. In this case, the fence that has already been constructed wouldn't comply with what is allowed were it able to meet those standards. So I think that maybe including them in the staff report has just confused the situation. At this point, they are only looking for a variance based on the 4 findings of fact on the screen. And so the other considerations for fences and walls are not part of this conversation. So they're looking for a variance to the allowable height of a fence in a front yard. That said, the board is able to place conditions on a variance. So if the board saw fit to require that landscaping be installed to soften the hard facade of the fence, the board could certainly introduce conditions that would be in keeping with the spirit and intent of the ordinance.
Thank you.
All right. I'll make a motion that we grant the variance. If the allowable height of the fence is 6 feet, maybe with a condition of 2 feet of landscaping in front of it that runs the length of it.
We have a motion to grant the variance as requested with landscaping in front of the fence along the 23rd Street.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The variance passes.
Oh my gosh,
Thank you. One other item for me, I'm going to be on vacation for the June 20 meeting, so I will not be here. I'm going to be far enough away I can't make it.
I will be out as well. You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there any further business before the Board of Adjustment today? We stand adjourned.